If you're new to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and you want to make friends, this is the video for you. When I first started Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I was 17 years old and I was honestly a little bit awkward. I didn't have any friends at the time who were in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and so I didn't know anybody. Eventually, I was able to make friends by simply showing up frequently enough. And honestly, that's the number one thing you can do as a white belt to make friends is show up consistently. If you can show up at least 3 days a week, very consistently, over time you will start to find people who you see at multiple classes. And if you continue to be the same drilling partner with them, you will eventually become their friend. Especially if you're a good drilling partner, especially if you guys have a similar personality, and especially if you guys talk for just a little bit. You don't have to chat their head off while you're drilling, but every once in a while, sort of an offhand comment here, you'll start to get to know them. And you can talk about whatever you want. You don't necessarily have to talk. I mean, it's a little weird if you're completely stone-faced the entire time. Some people make friends just by drilling relatively silently. But if you're not there consistently, you're not going to make friends. If you can't make it 3 days a week, which I would recommend as a very good goal, if you can make it 3 days a week in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as a beginner, chances are you're going to make progress. But if you can't make it 3 days a week, maybe it's just 2, maybe it's just 1, but hopefully it's at least 2. Try to make it on the same day every week. You go to the Monday class, then you go to the Tuesday, then the Thursday, then the Friday, then the Sunday, and it's mixed up every single week. You might not run into the same people again and again. And the real key to making friends is being in a shared common place, which you already have if it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and consistency. So if you see someone again, but then it's like 3 weeks because they've been switching up days before you see them again, or if you don't show up for 3 weeks in a row, that's even worse. If you don't have that consistency, you're not going to be able to make friends. The other real underrated secret for making friends in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is showing up 10, maybe 15 minutes early and just hanging out, stretching a little bit if you want to stretch, but just sit yourself next to one of the circles of people. If the circle starts to form, if people are kind of sat along the edge of the wall, just find yourself and sneak into a little spot. It's basic social skills, but I'm just going to say it anyways. Occasionally chime in when people have something to say and add on to the conversation every once in a while. For the most part, people are pretty welcoming in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And if a group of people are talking in a slight circle or a little line against the wall, and once in the 5 minutes you sort of add on to the conversation, they're not going to look at you like you're a weirdo and reject you. More often than not, they're going to, chime in or go off what you said or at least acknowledge it in some way, shape, or form. That's the cool thing about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've noticed most people are pretty cool. But giving yourself that extra time, say you show up 10 minutes early on Monday, first of all, you're not in a rush. You can get your stuff together. You can sign in if you have to sign in. So there are other advantages to being a little bit early so you're on time. But you can sit in those little areas where people are congregating, especially if it's someone who you've drilled with before, then you already have that rapport. You get knowing them a little bit more. You're going to get to know them a lot better. The more advanced thing that certain gyms do is they'll have social events. Sometimes they'll put on UFC fights. Sometimes they'll have a little Christmas party or something like that. Go to that and do the same thing. You're probably going to sit and talk. If there's a UFC fight on, you can watch the UFC fight. So there's some common shared experience. But more often than not, people are going to say things and just add on every once in a while. Basic social skills. But doing that little bit extra really goes a lot way to make some friends. The last thing you can do is actually compete. And I don't mean just pick a random tournament, go there by yourself and compete, which you can do if you want. Wait until your gym promotes a competition to go to. This may not always happen, especially if it's a non-competition focused gym, but more often than not, every once in a while, every few months or so, a gym is going to start talking about a certain tournament. Maybe it's a local tournament, maybe it's a larger IBJJF world type tournament, and they're like, hey, we're putting together a group of people, we want to go. And it may cost you some money. If it's a local tournament, it's probably going to cost around 100, maybe $150. And I'd say that's a really good place to start. Wait for your gym to go to a local tournament. Then hopefully they'll bring a good group of people who will also be competing. You'll have this shared experience. Even if you don't win your competition, it'll be worth it just for camaraderie you get amongst the other people who are competing. You're going to get a lot of experience. You're going to get better at jiu-jitsu. There are a lot of advantages to competing. But if you want that extra level, go with that people go when your gym is going. Go with a group of however many people it may be. Maybe it's only 5. Maybe it's as big as 20, 30, maybe even 50 people. Some gyms are really big and they have people from all over. You'll get to meet people who are on your team who are a little bit more dedicated about jiu-jitsu. You'll have some memories to share. If you win, then it's super cool. If you don't win, you get to learn, whatever. But if you win, then they get to talk about it, and it's awesome, and people love that. But even if you don't win, even if you lose every single match, you get to watch other people who may win. You get to talk about that. You get to congratulate them. You get to share this experience. And because you're a little bit nervous, because your adrenaline's going, it'll help you bond. And once you get back to the training room, you'll get to work on the things, whether you did well, whether you didn't do well. You could work on those things in the training room and improving it better and have this shared experience. You get that camaraderie. And I'd say after you've done that, you're sort of integrated in the gym culture and you no longer have to make friends because you've got friends. And that's one of the reasons why jiu-jitsu is awesome, because you make friends with just about anybody given enough time. As long as you do those things, be not a weirdo. You can even be a little bit weirdo. There are a lot of weirdos in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and we're all still friends with them because they're cool guys and girls. So yeah, if you have any more comments about making friends in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, drop them below. I would love to read them.